thank you so much for hopping on. Really appreciate you taking some time out of your day. We have a quick webinar of 30 minutes today. So with that, let me go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to share this one right here. And let's blow this up to full screen. If I can click slideshow. There we go. So here we are. Today we're going to be discussing managed Wi-Fi, the operational efficiencies that are tied within it, and of course, how do we speak with multifamily developers and show the value because we're trying to drive up their NOI, which is really their profits. So what this is going to look like today, we're going to do a quick introduction of myself and Gray, whom you see as well. We'll talk about NOI specifically and what drives it. We're also going to talk about managed Wi-Fi and make sure we go through a couple of the fundamentals because there are some nuance to it. We're not all experts in the Wi-Fi world, and we do toss around these terms very often, and we want to make sure we're all on the same page of exactly what it means because there's a couple different flavors to it. We'll then discuss what Wi-Fi unlocks, specifically the managed Wi-Fi, what that means for technology inside properties, and then we'll actually walk through an example kind of pricing-wise, as well as a couple of case studies that Brilliant has done with actual deployments. So that's going to be the quick 30 minutes. Myself, for the introduction, my name is Ryan Okimoto. As you all know, I like to go by Oki. It's been 5.5 years now at Brilliant, wearing many different caps. Today, I head up customer engagement, which is fancy talk for wearing many different caps. Decade plus in the smart home space was with Wi-Fi startup Eero, with Sonos. So kind of all the tech gadgets and gizmos, that's where I really thrive. So thrilled to be leading this. Today I'm joined by our head of product, Mr. Gray Graziani. Gray, if you'd love to do a quick introduction of yourself, as I know people are familiar with me, they might not be as familiar with you. So please.
Yeah, hey, what's up, everybody? Greg Graziani here, head of product at Brilliant. I joined the company about a year ago, last December, and working across everything product engineering and go-to-market related. And previously, I've been in the product management space for about 10 years, working across different, smart building technologies, consumer tech, a little bit of everything. So excited to be here today and looking forward to chatting with you all.
Yeah, and really appreciate Gray hopping on. Just for some context for all the attendees, it's really important for us. We want to share more voices, more ideas beyond. I know you're used to seeing me on the webinar series, but bringing more of Brilliant in so you can get to know more of the company, understand the different perspectives, and really kind of the faces behind the scenes that bring the magic to life that you all know and love when you're out there in the world doing those deployments. So with that, let's dive in. Talking about NOI, what it is, what drives it. Not too much time on this slide, really, because all NOI is, it stands for net operating income. And in reality, it's really just how profitable or how much money this project or building is going to be. How do you get to this magical number? Really, you're just subtracting the OPEX or the operational expenses from the total income coming in. So if I am the property owner, I'm looking, okay, what are the rents that I'm charging over how many units? That's my total income into the property. Well, now I have to subtract, okay, what's the cost of my employees? What's the cost of the water, the electric, the technology, whatever it is that I am supplying into the property? Those are the operating experiences. So when developers are looking at their properties, looking at their buildings, they're simply trying to figure out, okay, what's that break even point? What's this make money point? What's that threshold? What are all of my costs to see, is this going to be a profitable endeavor? So that's what they're looking at in those key metrics is, how to understand what is going to bring me the most value, what's going to be able to help me charge the most in rent, as I'm looking at the different revenues coming in versus the expenses, and really just how can I make my property as efficient as possible while also saving costs? Sometimes there are, of course, fees associated with different services that might make the building more efficient. Well, again, everything down to asset protection, to the energy management, you name it, it's always going to be a part of that NOI discussion for the developers to really understand, all right, how can I make the most money? Because at the end of the day, they don't do this for fun. They're doing it to drive a profit. So we need to make sure the services that we provide, the technology that's there, that's all in line with what they're trying to accomplish. So bringing more value to the property, trying to keep renters there longer, trying to keep them happier, and really providing a unique experience. And that's what renters are really looking to have. So moving past this NOI, I know the main topic of this is, leveraging managed Wi-Fi or leveraging Wi-Fi in general across the property. So I said we really wanted to break this down to understand the differences of Wi-Fi because we toss around this a lot. I myself got caught up in this world of the technology. It seems very common space for me, but I'll use terms SaaS, VLAN, all these things. Port forwarding, and sometimes people get a little glossy-eyed. So let's level set in understanding, the different flavors or kind of levels of Wi-Fi that we can have across a property. So the first one, which is really basic, is simply just an IoT network. An IoT network, if you're not familiar with IoT, it's the Internet of Things. It's those simple devices that just need to connect to the internet. These Wi-Fi networks are generally hidden, meaning the residents, if they pull up their phone, they're looking for settings under Wi-Fi, they're not seeing that Wi-Fi network. So devices that are generally connected to this are things that residents aren't going to connect to themselves. Sometimes devices need updates. We see elevators need that. Maybe thermostats might need that connectivity just so they're staying up to date. And the IoT network is not actually going to be unit specific. So the idea here is simply we want to have some sort of common area or property-wide Wi-Fi. So I, as a property manager, hey, if I need to figure out where I want to connect a device, whether it be a lock, an elevator, a thermostat, a leak detector, a door strike, all these different devices, there's some sort of Wi-Fi for it to connect to. So that's a very core basic level of Wi-Fi now. Great opportunities for this we often see in retrofits because it's very easy to pull your Cat6e, which is your Ethernet cable, to different locations. You have your APs or access points, generally in hallways, so it can reach a whole bunch of units. But I'd say retrofits, this is a great opportunity for maybe into affordable housing or market rate housing, those that are, looking to have some sort of smart connected devices to drive some value, but don't want to invest in the cost that it takes to do a fully managed Wi-Fi system. So that's generally where we see things happen in the IoT network. As it comes to a managed Wi-Fi network, this is where it starts to get exciting for the developers because most of all, they can charge a rent premium. This is actually a service they can provide their residents. So when we look at what managed Wi-Fi is, we start here by saying an individual VLAN. That sounds pretty techy. In English, what that means is across the entire property, you're going to see one network name. It's a single network name for the whole property. The individual VLAN, which stands for Virtual Local Area Network, means that depending on my password or that passkey that's given to me as the resident, that specific passkey means I am connected to my unit's Wi-Fi and only my unit's Wi-Fi. So the Wi-Fi partners that we have will set up this network. It says, hey, building Wi-Fi across the whole property, just as you see one network name for an airport or a hotel. It's just that's the name of the network. But my specific key means, hey, that's tied into unit 101 is this password. Unit 102 is this password. So anywhere I walk across the property, I'm connected to my Wi-Fi and only my Wi-Fi. So that way I don't see other people's devices. What's great about these situations is oftentimes these are gig speed internets. And it's unlimited data. We're in a streaming world now. We're consuming a bunch of content. Individual VLANs is a fantastic way to go to be able to use this as an upselling feature for these potential residents. These managed Wi-Fis are also move-in ready. So now as a resident, I can say, hey, Gray, welcome to Unit 101. Here's your password. Well, Gray moves into Unit 101, and sure enough, it's set up on day one. Quick anecdote, when I was living in an apartment before this house, I remember moving in and I had to call the cable company to set up my just cable package internet. And I had to call the energy company because they didn't cover energy as well. There were these steps that were, not ideal as a resident and caused some friction points. What we can do with the managed Wi-Fi layer is now take that barrier of entry out and provide a holistic solution to that resident. So when we're looking at value and we think about, okay, what can we provide these residents? Well, if we're providing them unlimited gig speed internet, that's a great feature. We can charge a rent premium for that. The device management now. So if I have connected devices, let's say smart thermostats, because energy is important to me, I can manage that whether it's vacant unit or an occupied unit because the Wi-Fi is always up. It's always connected regardless of if the resident was there. In my situation before, if I had moved out and there was a smart thermostat, well, if the property manager wanted to look at that unit to see if the thermostat was running, they would have to physically go to the unit. They don't have to worry about that in these systems now with the smart technology and this managed Wi-Fi because it's always going to be online. This can bleed into beyond energy. You touch those main things with the multifamily space, your access control. So your door locks for the units and the common area doors, your asset protection with leak detectors, any sort of smart apartment experience generally now is a Wi-Fi based experience. And all this will help to be able to simplify turnover with the product ecosystem that's available to make sure it's seamless so a resident can move in, they can get access to certain technology and certain doors, and when a resident move out, it's still available to be accessed by the property manager. So when we look at Wi-Fi as a whole, and I think Gray, we were having a discussion about this yesterday, you know, I think Wi-Fi has really become a modern utility. The first things you do when you move in, you set up water, you set up electric, and you set up your Wi-Fi. I think Gray, that's probably a good place to lead into kind of connectivity and a solution from your point of view.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I mean, it being the utility, and I think one thing we hear a lot from our owners and operators as well as residents is they want to have one neck to choke or one central place to go for everything, and so not having to reach out to Comcast or whoever directly, being able to get all that directly through the building helps with just streamlining, the resident experience. The other thing we hear a lot too is, all these IoT devices, they need to talk to the internet, right? And, one way they can do that is through a hub that connects to the internet via cellular connection, but you have to pay for that. Connecting, all these devices via Wi-Fi, instead of it being a cost center, suddenly it's a revenue driver, right? So the Wi-Fi is something that you can charge for and make money for, and then it unlocks all of these IoT driven use cases. So if you want to go on to the next slide, okay, we
Well,
can jump in.
actually, real quick, Ray, before we do that, let's peel back that onion. We're calling
Oh
it a
yeah.
revenue driver and we can charge more. How does that work? So let's say I am the developer and I want to be offering managed Wi-Fi. Well, what does the cable company charge me? How do I push that on to the residents? What can I charge them?
Sure. Yeah. So, how that generally works is, you enter into an agreement with the ISP, to get the internet into the building, and then, putting in all of the, again, depending on what flavor of managed Wi-Fi you wanna go with, installing all the hardware, having it ready for residents when they move in, and then, the residents pay a sort of a Wi-Fi fee or a smart home fee or whatever that is, to the owner operator, at a margin that works. And oftentimes, actually, based on those bulk rates that the building is able to secure, the resident can actually get a better rate than going directly to the ISP.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm getting at. So for just some rough numbers, let's say, hey, I'm a developer, I strike a deal with the ISP or a Wi-Fi partner, and they say, great, we're gonna charge you, $40 per unit to be able to have a, gig speed Wi-Fi that's unlimited for that unit. Fantastic. I can then, as the developer, charge maybe 60 or 70 to that resident for that gig speed unlimited Wi-Fi. But to Gray's point, that pricing is still cheaper than if we're just pulling that Ethernet and it's on the resident to then call the ISP to say, hey, Spectrum, hey, Comcast, hey, whomever, I want this package and this deal. And that would be more. So it's actually in everybody's best interest. That partner for the Wi-Fi and the ISP, will they still secure the building? You get a great rate as the developer, and then you can use it as a profit center with the residents. So this next evolution of a smart community of having a managed Wi-Fi, so it's all set, it's all pre-configured, it's already coming in, really starts to make sense beyond just an operational efficiency side, but even as a revenue generating side too. So I know I would have absolutely loved that personally back in the day, but now I don't have that experience. Not a bad thing. But that's kind of the value as we talk about IoT, or excuse me, Wi-Fi within IoT. The next piece to this is, of course, the specific IoT devices, what makes sense across a property. So, Gray, you want to kind of walk us through these different buckets and the value that's there?
Sure. Yeah. So now you've unlocked all these different devices that are connected over Wi-Fi. And when we talk about the impact of IoT and the value as it relates to NOI, a lot of it is on operational efficiency. So reducing costs. So, for example, access control, smart locks. What this can enable is easier turnover. You're not having to create new keys. So that the time it takes and the cost it takes to kind of rekey apartments, it's all digital. It can be automated. So you're saving time and cost there. Energy management. So another area where IoT and smart devices can really help reduce costs. Being able to kind of manage temperature, especially in vacant units, and make sure it's optimized. You're not accidentally leaving thermostats on. You're not accidentally just heating an empty room. You're able to really optimize the vacant units, as well as give residents the ability to kind of leverage the optimization capabilities of these devices as well, to really reduce energy and efficiency. This can help not only just reduce the utility cost, but also help meet ESG goals as well, which can help with rebates, with loans, all sorts of things downstream there. Asset protection is another big area where IoT can help. Leak detectors, leak shutoff valves, reducing the cost of damage, of course, also can help reduce insurance premiums as well. So another way that costs can get reduced in several ways due to based on these leak and water shutoff valves and smoke detectors, things like that. Finally, another area is in, smart apartments. So this is where something like, the Brilliant Control, giving residents that premium experience where they can bring their own devices, connect everything into one place, and leverage a lot of the smart home experience that something like a Brilliant provides. Oftentimes this could be this could lead to a kind of a smart home fee or an additional charge that could help drive up rent. Also, just improves the resident experience, reduces resident turnover. Again, creates that differentiated resident experience that helps with occupancy as well, and making sure that people are staying put. So all of this again needs to talk to the internet. When you have managed Wi-Fi in place, that's how you're powering it, and it's no longer just an operational efficiency gain. Paired with managed Wi-Fi, you've got that revenue driver as well.
Which is great. And as it pertains to Brilliant, since you're all here, kind of learning the engagement that we have with developers and your partners of ours, you need to kind of rewire your brain and thinking with Brilliant in the multifamily space, because you're all familiar with, of course, our Brilliant controls in the smart apartments. What we've been able to do within our dashboard, and if you hopped on the multifamily webinar presentation we delivered, let's say 2 months ago, what you can understand now is that through our dashboard, we call Brilliant Command Center, we can offer any one of these or all of these. So it's now kind of an a la carte, what does the developer want? So if I am maybe working with some affordable housing developers, hey, I just want to manage the energy in this property. That's the only smart technology I want. Well, then we do sort of a version of Wi-Fi and energy management. If I'm focused on access control, I can do access control with our partners. So the Brilliant Control on that smart apartments piece becomes more of that more premium option. We even have some partners that will do most of the units as a kind of blanket or standard, hey, here's a smart thermostat and maybe a leak detector. But we have a certain subset of our units that are the smart apartments, the premium units that they maybe charge a little bit more for. So now we have the ability to say, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Developer, what's important to you for your community? Is it access control? Great. Is it energy management? Not so much. All right. Is it asset protection? It is great. Is it smart apartments? Great. So you can pick and choose, mix and match depending on what's right. And it all ties together with Wi-Fi. So now we look at a holistic solution that covers exactly what they want across those different kind of price points and building, I'd say, levels from affordable housing all the way up to your A and luxury property. We're going to be able to help you deliver a fantastic solution to exactly what that developer wants. Continuing on, of course, we have to make the numbers work. Gray, I know you're the expert in this. So let's look at an example kind of mock assessment of what that kind of revenue generation is by adding Wi-Fi as part of that technology sort of fee blanketed together.
Sure. Yeah. So, getting down to brass tacks, how it all adds up here. And these numbers these are kind of estimates. So just, take them with a grain of salt. You can just get the sense of how the math works. So let's look at a 300 unit community and assume we've got about 94% occupancy. So 282 occupied units. So as we mentioned, you're going to be charging the resident a fee for the high speed internet. And let's say in this case, you're also providing them with smart devices. So we're seeing owners and operators bundling stuff together into sort of a fully smart home, a full connected experience, versus just the smart devices or just the Wi-Fi. You can provide sort of it all in one bundled fee. Let's call it $75 a month. Okay, so the what you're getting from residents times 282 units is $21,000 a month. Then of course you've got to pay for it, so you're paying the IoT and the Wi-Fi provider. Fees can range, for all told Wi-Fi and the smart devices, 25, 30, $35 per unit per month. That's going to be billed on 100% of your units. So for this example, let's call it $27 a unit a month times 300. So your costs are going to be about 8,000 a month. So for this whole package, you're going to be able to generate $44 per unit per month in profit. And that adds up at the building level to roughly 13,000 total monthly net income. So you can see how pairing Wi-Fi with IoT, you're able to drive that top line revenue. And this doesn't even, include all of the operational efficiencies and cost savings as well that some of the IoT use cases can unlock.
Yeah, exactly. To your point, Gray, not having to pay for those cellular devices, that those extra pieces of hardware that live in the unit that come with those monthly fees. You don't have to worry about any of that. The operational efficiencies. We always like to say the best technology is the technology that hides in plain sight. You don't even know it's doing your job. If you're familiar with Brilliant Command Center, what we offer, the move in move out process for us tied in the PMS, it is 100% automated. That on-site team member, the property manager, never has to lift a finger, and they can turn the technology. They can access all of it. They can set up their alerts. So they're getting an email or a text message if something happens or a thermostat is too hot or too cold or a leak is detected. All these little things tie in together to deliver an amazing experience to all the audiences. And in this space, we have multiple audiences. We're not just selling the developer. We have to make sure we're keeping the residents happy, we're keeping the property managers happy, the maintenance engineers happy, and of course the developers happy. So a lot of different audiences that technology and Wi-Fi combined can really help please to make it make sense into this next evolution of living, because Wi-Fi is going to be a modern utility. We're not going to call it a smart apartment, and in time it's just going to be your apartment, and the expectation of technology is really just going to be there. That's how we are with cars. And you've heard me use this analogy a million times, but it makes sense. If I were to go out and buy a new car today, I don't go out and say, hey, check out my new smart car. You'd look at me kind of weird. Like, why is this guy talking about a smart car? We just expect the car to be smart. The infotainment system, they pretty much drive themselves now. A lot of it is just, it's this next evolution. It's just your car. The smart home and the smart apartment, it's just going to be your home, and we're going to have this expectation. So we're trying to lead that, drive that innovation to make it be that next standard. And there's no reason you shouldn't be able to kind of help these developers provide that in winning solutions for all parties that are involved. That's the idea. So just a couple of quick case studies for you that Brilliant has actually done, as we're down to about 5 minutes left here. Two deployments that we want to highlight. One is with student housing, and that's Landmark Properties. They're top five student development housing leader in the nation, which is fantastic. They actually chose to deploy us at College Park with 286 units, and they did a scaled back version of Wi-Fi, but they have the asset protection with the leak detectors, as well as smart thermostats. And there's a subset in here that are doing smart apartments as well. So not every single unit has a Brilliant control. Some have Brilliant controls, but All of them are having some sort of capability built in with as far as IoT and technology with the property-wide Wi-Fi. And a great article came out. Landmark actually won an award for best off-campus student housing. Was it connectivity and technology solution, I believe, for having Brilliant in the devices there to tie it all together. We'll be happy to share out a copy of that article. We've highlighted it on our LinkedIn before. Go ahead and LinkedIn stalk me. You can find that in one of my posts. But just a fantastic example of technology being the leading forefront and how Brilliant helped Landmark win that award. So absolutely love that. The other one is 50 units down in Las Vegas at Seneca Living. And this is a very holistic solution. What's nice about this is these are actually single family homes for rent. So for Brilliant, multifamily is anything to rent. These were single family homes. And so they struck a deal with the ISP. I forget who it was down. It might have been Comcast, but they actually brought Wi-Fi to every single home and had it lit up. So that way, when that home is vacant, it's still all the devices are online. And they went incredibly robust. They had a smart lock, they had a smart thermostat, actually multiple smart thermostats, two or three depending on the home, two or three leak detectors as well. They went with a garage door opener. There's a an intercom solution. What else? There's Brilliance for our controls. There's Brilliant dimmers. They really went all out to the nines with the smart apartment experience, just to show there's different levels depending on what you and that developer come to a conclusion on as the right solution for that community. So again, whether it be a scaled back experience, that's just fine. Whether it be an incredibly robust, maximizing all that the Brilliant can do, it's really up to them and what's right. But just a couple examples of what's out there. I myself am actually off next week to support a 28 unit deployment. So these deployments are ratcheting up. More and more are realizing smart apartments are the way to go. And technology can really, at the end, provide a fantastic resident experience, make their on site team really more efficient, and most importantly, raise their NOI, give them a little bit more money, make it more profitable, making sure we're checking all those boxes. So if you have questions, if you have any other follow up, please reach out to me. I can give you a demo, of course, of the Brilliant hardware, but more importantly, a demo of the software, the magic, the secret sauce behind it all that shows off the automation, that shows off the alert system, that shows off the access control to know exactly what they're getting to be able to say, hey, this is going to make the property thrive. So my email is up there. I decided to be brave. I put my phone number up there as well. You all know the best way to reach me is to please text me. Additionally, you can reach out to sales@brilliant.tech. Myself or someone from our team will absolutely be able to help you out there.